The Zephyrian Empire had conquered 14 star systems in the past galactic cycle. Their crimson warships, each the size of a small moon, had reduced entire civilizations to ash and memory. Admiral Kextar stood on the bridge of his flagship, Dominion's Fist, his four eyes gleaming with predatory satisfaction as he surveyed the small blue-green planet below. Another primitive world, he hissed through his translator, his scaled hands gripping the command console. Intelligence reports indicate they call themselves humans, barely achieved interstellar travel. This will be over within the hour. The planet Earth hung peacefully in the void, unaware that the galaxy's most feared military force had just arrived at its doorstep. The Zephyrians had crushed the technologically advanced Alterans, enslaved the psychic Mentari, and obliterated the warrior culture of the Corvin. Humans, with their crew fusion engines and projectile weapons, would pose no challenge whatsoever. On the surface of Earth, in the rolling hills of Kansas, Jacob Matthews was fixing his combine harvester when the first energy blast lit up the morning sky. The 60-year-old farmer had seen enough in his lifetime 2 tours in Afghanistan. The loss of his wife to cancer, droughts that nearly broke his family's century-old farm. But nothing had prepared him for this. The initial bombardment targeted major cities and military installations. New York, Moscow, Beijing ancient centers of human civilization vanished in pillars of superheated plasma. The Zephyrian ground forces landed in organized waves, their exoskeletons gleaming like beetle shells as they began the methodical extermination of humanity. But they made their first mistake when squad leader Vexan's unit landed in Jacob's wheat field. The alien commander emerged from his drop pod, scanning the primitive agricultural landscape with disdain. Wooden structures, chemical-based farming equipment, and one lone human standing beside a rusted machine. The man was tall by human standards, weathered by years under the sun, wearing simple denim and flannel. "You will surrender or be eliminated," Vexan announced through his suit's speakers, raising his plasma rifle. Jacob Matthews looked at the 8-foot-tall armored alien, then at the smoldering ruins of Topeka on the horizon where his daughter lived, where his grandchildren had been playing that morning. His calloused hand slowly reached for the modified hunting rifle leaning against his combine. "Son," Jacob said quietly, his voice carrying the weight of a man who had nothing left to lose. "You just made the biggest mistake in galactic history." The first shot took Vexan by surprise. The human's primitive projectile weapon shouldn't have penetrated Zephyrian armor, but somehow the tungsten core bullet found the gap between helmet and chest plate. The squad leader collapsed, green blood pooling in the Kansas dirt. What the Zephyrians didn't understand about humans was their capacity for adaptation. Within hours of the invasion, farmers were modifying their equipment into weapons. Crop dusters became bombers, fertilizer became explosives, and every human with a PA rifle became a guerrilla fighter. In his command ship, Admiral Kextar watched his casualty reports with growing unease. The humans weren't just fighting back, they were learning. Every Zephyrian weapon captured was reverse engineered within days. Every tactical pattern was adapted to and countered. These primitive beings fought with a ferocity that defied logic, turning every street, every building, every farm into a fortress. Jacob Matthews had become something of a legend. The farmer had organized the rural resistance, teaching city folk how to live off the land while waging asymmetric warfare against technologically superior forces. His small farmhouse had become a command center, his barn a weapons cache, his knowledge of the terrain an invaluable asset. "They're not like the others," reported Commander Zekarus, the scarred veteran of a dozen conquests. "The Alterans surrendered when we destroyed their cities. The Mentari broke when we blocked their psychic networks. But these humans, they get stronger when cornered." The Admiral's confidence began to crack as reports flooded in from across the planet. Humans in the Amazon were using the jungle itself as a weapon. Mountain dwellers in Tibet had turned the peaks into sniper nests. The survivors of bombed cities had gone underground, creating tunnel networks that would make the ancient Viet Cong proud. But it was the farmers who proved most dangerous. They knew the land intimately, could disappear in the cornfields and emerge behind enemy lines. They understood supply chains, logistics, and the patience required to wait for the perfect moment to strike. 6 months after the invasion began, Admiral Kextar faced a reality no Zephyrian commander had ever encountered. His forces were losing. The humans had not only survived the initial assault, but had begun pushing back. Their captured technology was being improved upon with terrifying efficiency. Their tactics evolved faster than Zephyrian strategists could adapt. The final blow came when Jacob Matthews led a coordinated global assault on every Zephyrian ground. Installation simultaneously. The old farmer had spent months organizing resistance cells across every continent, using everything from ham radios to carrier pigeons to coordinate the attack. When it came, it was swift and devastating. Standing. In his ruined command center, Admiral Kextar finally understood what made humans different. They didn't have the advanced technology of the Alterans or the psychic abilities of the Mentari. What they had was something far more dangerous, the refusal to accept defeat. As the last Zephyrian ship limped away from Earth's orbit, Jacob Matthews stood in his wheat field, now scarred by war but still his home. The combine harvester sat where he'd left it, waiting for peace to return so the real work could begin again. The galaxy would remember this day. The mighty Zephyrian Empire, conqueror of worlds, had been broken by a species that fought with the same determination they brought to coaxing life from soil. They had learned too late that you don't attack a human's farm. You don't attack their home.